All right guys, here we go with another video. I'm gonna show you how y'all can save about 400 bucks if you got a bad trim motor on Suzuki DF series. This is a 2016 DF150 and the trim motor barely works. 9 out of 10 times it's just the brushes in it. You can buy OEM brushes for about 100 bucks versus over 500 bucks for a trim motor. There's 4 bolts you got to get off. This one. Start off by getting your wiring harness off right here. You could pull your this wiring harness out the way, and I'll show you all to set up. That back bolt's real hard to get to, but this one's got a bracket on it, so it's even easier. But if you come from this side, you can see what's going on over here. You can see that back bolt's real hard to get to. Usually this would be, if you had a boat without a bracket on it, this would be the actual hole right here. But it's no different. This doesn't really give me much more room, just visibility. I'll show you all the setup that I use to get to that back bolt to make it much easier. I'm gonna go ahead and back it out, and I'll show you all what I'm using to get it out. This is the setup I use to get that back bolt to make it easier. Like I said, everyone should have some short extensions, different size extensions, so that you can make life easier. But a little short one right here, I don't know, it's maybe 1 inch long, a swivel, one of your standard 1/4 inch drives, and a 10 millimeter. And you don't have to have a flex head ratchet here, just any 1/4 inch drive ratchet. But everyone should have these little stubby extensions in their toolbox because it makes life easier for stuff like this. All right, we got our 4 bolts off. You may have to give it a little bump like this to get it broke loose. I've already got this one broke loose, but you'll pull it off, and this is what you get. You won't lose much fluid at all. There is an O-ring, as you see. It just came off. I'm gonna do this job without even unhooking the wiring harness. I'm gonna do it all right here. But this is an O-ring. These are all the parts you'll get. Empty them out. That's a new O-ring. I'll show you all the parts list. This is one of the brushes, has a breaker on it, it's labeled as. We went ahead and bought 2 new springs because they're only $4 each, and we wanted to have them. And that's the other brush. So don't look like $100 bill laying there, does it? All right, this bottom piece right here, of course I ain't good. Oh, it's got screws in it. This bottom piece is what they call the brush plate. We'll pull them 2 Phillips screws off right here, and it'll pull off. You have to be real careful because the arbor will try to come out with it. And it's magnetic, it'll scare you, but we'll get them 2 screws off, and then we'll pull this off, and I'll show y'all. There's also a little oil seal right here. You don't want to tear it up. Be careful with it. We didn't order a new one of them. So, all right, so we got these 2 screws out. This will sit up in there like that. Just kind of twist it, rock it back and forth, pull. You have to pull this. There's another screw up here. You have to pull it out. That way you can push these wires and pull these wires through here. I need to get a little here. We'll get a pick and get this out of here. Just get you a pick and pry this little piece out of here. Now we can pull these wires through. And that magnet's pretty tough. All right. So the breaker came unhooked, and there's a Phillips head right there. We need to try to just pull these wires through a little more. See if I can push them. pull them. Right. Give me that Phillips screwdriver up there. I'm just gonna unscrew this. So these brushes actually don't look bad. The last time we took this thing apart, this thing is on a commercial crab boat. This motor's a 2016. It's got almost 3,000 hours on it. This is the second set of brushes we put in it. However, this set is a used set that we put in it to get us going by a couple years ago from a local boat shop. These things actually don't look like they're in bad shape, but see what's happening right here is they're sticking. They've got so much dust in there. That thing should pop right out. That spring should pop it right out, but it's not doing that. So it's getting stuck in the position to where when I undid this screw, this plate came off, but I'm gonna set it back on here, show you how that's getting stuck. See how it's stuck in there? That one should be popping out. If one of them's not making contact with that armature, it ain't gonna spin. It's gotta make contact. So we're gonna clean all this up real good, get all this dust out of here, put the new springs in there, new cover plates, and we'll put it all back together. I'm gonna take this armature here, I'm gonna go ahead and pull it out. I'm gonna show y'all what I'm gonna do to it. I'm gonna take a little sandpaper, just a little light sandpaper, and I'm gonna clean this up, and then I'm gonna take that little pick and I'm gonna clean, after I sand it, I'm gonna clean all these tabs out. You can answer. All right, so I got the armature cleaned up. I took some emery cloth and then some Scotch-Brite. I also cleaned up the shaft itself and this part. Take you some compressed air, blow it out. You'd be surprised at a ton of dust that comes out of there, and that's what gets in these springs and hold them up. Now, this is the tricky part right here, is getting this thing lined up. You're about to see some cuss words. So we'll go ahead and put this one in. All right, now take that and stick it in the hole there. Go ahead. All right, hold it. I gotta get this one pushed out some more. All right, take your pick here. Once you got it started, push on them brushes on each side and pop it in place. Now, the second you try to put this thing in there, that magnet's gonna take over, and you gotta push it really fast. You can also take your set of vice grips. I'm gonna put a little oil on that O-ring. You can take your set of vice grips and clamp on here, and that'll keep it from sliding up in there real fast. That's what we're gonna do. So I'm gonna find a set of vice grips and I'll get back with y'all. All right, so we got our wires connected. We got our brushes in. Take your armature. Hold that copper where it's at. All right, you got it?
Yeah.
All right, just slide this in right here. Now it's in place. Take your vice grips. You can let go of it. Take your vice grips. Not too tight, just enough to hold that thing in place so the magnet, when you try to slide this thing in here, the magnet's gonna want to take it over. So slide it in, try to be quick. Make sure your O-ring's there. Put a little silicone grease, oil on it. Those kind of things like we forgot to do. And slide it on up in here. See how that magnet wants to take it over. Push it in real good. Kind of look around, make sure that O-ring's right in its place. Like it's not wanting to do here. See, it's in on this side, but didn't want to go in that side. gonna put a little grease on that O-ring. Alright, we got that thing greased up a little bit. Clean this out some. Hopefully it'll sit up in there a little better. The key is trying to get it level too, because once that magnet takes over, it's hard. There we go. Nice and flush all the way around. So now we can take our two screws, put them in. I can't see, I forgot to look in there to make sure I line them holes up, but make sure you line them holes up. If they're not lined up, you just turn it 90 degrees and it'll line itself up. So there we go. We're gonna put them screws in, and when you put this back in, if you look on here, there's a little groove. Make sure you don't just bolt this thing down where it's sitting crossways in there. Rotate it a couple times, make sure this slot is sitting inside that groove so you don't break it. You'll push these two things back down for your wires. Push them down in there good and tight. Before you do that, pull these wires up. Make sure you got all the slacking out of them so they're not hitting on your armature in there, which we do. Pull these, push these down in there real good and tight with a flathead screwdriver. Take and put your bolt back in this. And your 4 bolts in here. And hopefully here in a little bit we'll show y'all this motor going up and down like it wasn't doing before. Alright, we got our 2 screws back in. We got our O-ring on there lubed up a little bit. Wires point toward the, what side is that? Port side. And we're gonna line this slot up. Make sure you line it up. Get this other little wire out the way. And then just push it down on in there.
What's funny is he wanted me to do this by myself.
Put our bolt in, and we'll just kind of run them down equally to make sure, because I do see a little gap in here. Let me see that thing. Alright, there'll be a little air in this thing when you get it back going. If it don't go down right away, you may have to just bump it up a little bit. That's what we had to do. And it may sound a little sketchy at first with some air, but this thing sounds real healthy. Healthier than it's ever sounded, really, truthfully, with just new brushes. So that is $100. I'll put the parts list of the parts we got in there, and that'll save you about 450 bucks from buying a whole new trim motor. So hopefully we can help some of y'all out. See y'all later.